What is up, everybody? We are here recording an awesome session with an amazing person who I've known for not as long as I would like to, but still it feels like a strong connection in a short period of time. As usual in the Data on Kubernetes community, we have awesome guests, and today's guest is absolutely no exception. We met in Valencia in person, but supposedly had known about our community prior to that, which is always good news. Our guest today has the coolest mustache, the strongest, I don't want to say a threat to the cloud native community, but certainly a very strong standing presence and just an awesome person as well, who we're going to get to know a little bit more about, as well about his opinions and interest in our research report. Yves is a solutions architect at NetApp, and he'll talk a little bit more about himself. But Yves, how are you? And what are we going to be hearing about today?
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Un placer, encantado.
Well, first, thank you for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm very good. Thank you very much. Very happy to be part of this community and to be finally able to record something with you. So yes, solution architect at NetApp. I live in France, but you can probably recognize my accent.
I thought you were Portuguese.
Well, I can do some bom dia also, but no, I'm French, based next to Paris. I've been working at NetApp for 15 plus years. I've been working on Kubernetes for 5+ years. So voila, that's me, I guess.
Voila, we can never hear that word too often in the community. But no, I think it's good to, like you said, based on your experience in NetApp, you've been working with Kubernetes for 5 years, so you've seen the development. I don't want to spoil anything that's going to come up in your presentation, but this notion of data on Kubernetes, and maybe with that, you can, if you want to start sharing your screen, so we can take a look at what's going to come up there. I'm curious, how it's been for you as someone who has been working with Kubernetes for this long, because some folks have maybe only been with it for 2 years, so some things seem more innate or natural, whereas someone like yourself has seen the development over time. But that being said, if you want to start sharing your screen, we can take a look at your presentation.
Yes.
And also, Yves is an amazing community member because he's read our research reports. Remember, folks, we have 2, so you can expect some information to be shared about that today as well. And also, being a French person means he's brutally honest, and we always appreciate brutal honesty, because we might have certain ideas about our hypotheses or how we might see certain things, but it's always really good to get a fresh dose of reality and realism. You have a lot of stuff at your dashboard at the bottom, by the way. That's exciting. That being said, so stateful apps in a multi-hybrid cloud era. Take it away, Yves. It's all yours.
Slides. I always like.
Oh, sorry. We gotta repeat that. It cut out for a little bit. Just start it over again.
Okay. So yes, I started putting this presentation together, and I always start my presentation by telling a story, right? So before jumping directly into data and applications and stateful stuff, I want to go back in history and see where we are from, where we're coming from, and where we are today, right? So every good story starts with once upon a time. And if you remember, well, maybe you're too young, but some years ago, there were computers and servers. So I guess external storage was pretty new still on the market. However, so everyone had its computer, maybe connected to something else, and you will do a lot of manual tasks. Automation was not really already as widely used as today. Backup was already present on tape, maybe, or on floppy drives. And I still remember when I was working at the time, in a few years later, the first one that went to the office had to change the tape in the backup device. So backup was easy, just put a tape in the device. However, we were all crossing our fingers to hope for no failure in the day, because backup was supposedly automatic, but restoring stuff, it was, again, we were crossing our fingers, lighting candles and hoping for the best. high availability was pretty difficult, as you can imagine, because, well, servers are a device. So it was probably managed at the application level with some very difficult processes. And when you had a failure, a hardware failure, well, you just put everything to the trash and replace it with something new and restore whatever could be restored, I would say. Then, well, came virtualization. So a few years later, so the dates here are maybe not exact entirely, but it's just to put things in context. The first goal of the virtualization was obviously to get a better efficiency with hardware. So hardware optimization, because obviously before, when you had servers, you would probably, I don't know, consume some percent of the CPU and memory, the rest was just unused. So lots of money if you want. So virtualization came, you had hypervisors and a lot of virtual machines running on one piece of hardware. This obviously was a kind of a revolution, and it led to a much better efficiency or use of hardware. But aside from that, also came in the picture the possibility to implement high availability, disaster recovery, maybe different backup processes, and external storage was widely used for that with NFS or block storage also. But there were also some challenges. First, you probably remember that, but when virtualization came widely used, you probably remember people saying databases will never run in VMs. And that's probably what DBAs said at the time. And today, everybody is okay to say, well, we can use Oracle in a VM, that works, or any other database, why not? Also, other challenges, such as maybe licensing, because each VM still runs its operating system. So you have many licenses to manage. It's maybe not optimal in terms of cost, I guess. And but, well, obviously, since it's about hardware optimization, if you have more applications or desktop using the same hardware, if this you have a much better density of stuff running in one device. If that device fails, well, you have many more applications or environments that are impacted, right? So restoring everything, it's could be a lot of work, to put it just as simple as that. Obviously, things have improved quite a lot, and today, I guess, virtualized environments are pretty strong and reliable. And you have wide clusters, and if one cluster fails, if one host fails, all the VMs are going to move around and run or restart somewhere else. So that's all working perfectly fine. However, what came after virtualization? Well, with the virtualization came like a mist in a forest, and the mist went into the sky, evaporated into clouds. How poetic, right? So here we are talking about public clouds, private clouds, hybrid clouds, multi-clouds, whatever cloud you want. Well, again, 2012, it's more or less when the first public clouds were open. The success was quite strong immediately because everything was possible as a service. Just put your credit card and then you have what you want. Obviously, that was not well appreciated by the CFO, I guess, because you had a lot of people doing their stuff on their side, not following the IT rules of their companies. However, everything was really quick. Press a button, put your card, and then you have what you want again. Some companies then even pushed the thing further. So again, maybe I am oversimplifying, but some companies have decided to close down their data centers because they have everything they need in the cloud. So why pay for hardware and expensive buildings when you can just use the same kind of environments in the cloud? So this had a lot of success pretty quickly. However, well, it also comes with different challenges and maybe misbeliefs. Again, cloud, a lot of people said cloud is cheap. You just pay for what you need. But at the end of the day, if you look at your bills and if you try to compare similar stuff to data centers, you may figure out that it's not that cheap after all, right? So some companies have turned around and go back to data centers, but that's a different story. Also, never forget that even if you're in the cloud, you're still running your stuff on hardware that you don't manage, but still hardware. So it's like running your stuff on someone else's computer at the end of the day, right? And that's a very important point. Never forget that. Next, that some people have learned that the hard way. It's not because you're in the cloud that everything is protected. I remember people telling, yeah, I put my stuff in the cloud and it's protected by default, and I don't need to implement backup or disaster recovery. Everything is just fine, right? So, but well, hey, it's still hardware. So data centers may experience power outage, may burn down. You may have a DNS issue. Like if you were running your own data center. So it's not because you're in the cloud that your applications or data is going to be protected. And last, you know probably the term lift and shift. Putting your data center application directly in the cloud will maybe save some hardware, but it's probably not the best idea. You may want to get the best of what you have in the cloud services and start refactoring your application. Maybe transform it into containers, run microservices so that you can really scale every single bit of your application when you want, how you want, and that way, well, it will be much more efficient, right? So again, physical servers, virtualization, cloud, and right after that, we have Kubernetes. However, Kubernetes is great, but like I say here, like every heroes, the trip is not really easy. Kubernetes was Kubernetes was open sourced in 2014, so I guess 8 years ago already. I can't wait for the 10 years anniversary of Kubernetes. That's going to be a big party. But I guess we can all agree that Kubernetes has become a new standard, right? So there's no question about that anymore. 5 years ago, there were different container orchestrators, but today Kubernetes has become the de facto standard. And it's not because I say that it's true. When you look at the numbers, the first 4 years of Kubernetes, you can see that there has been a massive adoption on the market, especially in production. So there is a 4-time factor for the Kubernetes clusters running in production, right? And these numbers come from the CNCF report already from 2 years ago, but it's still very true. And today, I don't know many customers who are not at least interested in what Kubernetes can provide. But it's not because Kubernetes is growing that it's easy. Again, when you look at the different surveys available out there, CNCF or others, all these surveys agree on one thing. Kubernetes is complex. And Kubernetes, this complexity is still one of the main challenges that is provided by the end users. There are other challenges there have been other challenges over the years. And maybe you remember that, but the 3 first years of this survey, storage was the #1 challenge brought up by the end users. It was quite a nightmare to use. And that's when the famous Kubernetes is not made for stateful applications was born. So people still believe that, but some companies, NetApp being one of them, has thought that providing something to make storage consumption easier would be a good idea. So some companies created different drivers to simplify storage consumption. And some years later, the CSI standard was created. CSI stands for Container Storage Interface. It is a standard that will tell different storage providers how to build their APIs so that you have a single interface between Kubernetes and any storage device underneath. You can also see that other topics or other challenges have improved. Monitoring has become much better, networking also. But yeah, storage is not really a problem anymore. But again, Kubernetes is not made for stateful applications. So this very old saying is still around, and some people still believe that. Well, they can still believe it if they want, but numbers show that, well, you can already run stateful applications in production. Again, coming from the CNCF survey, you see that, yes, a lot of customers run stateful applications in production. Again, it's not me saying it, it's the different surveys. And you can find the same results, the same values in many different documents or websites that you find out there. Another one that is interesting, coming from Datadog, shows that stateful sets or PVCs are steadily growing over the years. So it shows that, data on Kubernetes is a thing. It's not some kind of fairy tale that you see in Kubernetes. Now you can find stateful set and data in production with Kubernetes, right? It's not secret anymore. So I read the data of Kubernetes report that was issued recently, and this one also shows that data on Kubernetes is important. You can see it on the left. A lot of users use persistent data on Kubernetes in production, and this is planned to increase over the following 12 months, as you can see on the right. So I guess there are different ways to address data, different ways to manage storage with Kubernetes, external storage, internal storage, different protocols. But, well, I guess there is a bright future for all these storage providers, right? Next, Kubernetes is an enabler. It's just a new infrastructure standard. It is here to host applications and to provide an entry or an infrastructure for, well, DevOps engineer, right? Or, well, in KubeCon, we learned that DevOps is no more. Now we have to talk about platform engineering. But it's true. Kubernetes provides a lot of easiness to create new application, to improve the scalability of applications, to improve the change of versions, the application lifecycle, and so on. So Kubernetes is, again, a new standard. A lot of new applications are provided into container format and are directly made for Kubernetes. A lot of companies are investing in Kubernetes on-premises or in the different hypervisors. Sorry, hyperscalers. And a lot of companies are planning on using stateful applications in production. Now, there are stateful applications, but then Kubernetes is a bunch of APIs. And I guess there is data and there is data services. And companies are offering new data services that you can put on top of Kubernetes to manage stateful applications in a much better way in production. So is stateful application not for Kubernetes still true? I'm not sure. I believe that Kubernetes is made for stateful applications. Now, I will never put my databases on Kubernetes. Does that sound familiar, right? It sounds like what I said earlier about DBAs in VMs 20 years ago. But again, different surveys show that, well, you can find and run databases in production on Kubernetes. Yes, again, it's not fairy tale, it's a fact. Obviously, not all databases are made for Kubernetes. You can find new format of databases, or you can run existing models in Kubernetes with various modifications. I am yet to see Oracle running Kubernetes, but all the Postgre, MySQL, and all the databases that exist that have been around for years, they run in Kubernetes, and they run pretty well. I have found this lab in another survey from Cockroach Labs. And this one also shows that, I guess, some people are still running databases outside of Kubernetes just to separate the topics and maybe separate the management or who's in charge of what. But as you can see, also 54% of the people who answered this survey manage their database in Kubernetes. So again, this proves that, yes, you can find databases in Kubernetes. Another slide I like a lot comes from Datadog. This is very fresh. It's from, well, this month, November 2022. And every year they release different metrics. And this one shows the 10 or 12 container that are, or images that are the most downloaded from the Docker Hub. And amongst these 10 applications, you find Postgre, Mongo, MySQL. And guess what? They are what? Databases. Yes. So again, databases can run in production. I think there are no more questions about that today. Now, like I said earlier, with the cloud or with virtualization, failures can happen. And the failure, which is not really nice, right? She does not give any notice. She doesn't say, I am going to break that specifically, and then I will let you figure out how to fix that. Failure can happen on anywhere, on any level, a small drive, a whole data center, and it is your role as a Kubernetes or IT admin or application admin to build your application or your infrastructure in a reliable way, so that if any failure happens at any level, you can still continue your business, because that's I guess that's what is the most important, right? And you want to make sure that the data is safe, because that's the value of your company relies in its data. Now, stateful applications, it's not just about persistent storage, right? An application in Kubernetes is made of many different objects. Yes, you have storage somewhere in the picture, but data cannot be lost. That is very important, right? Even if it's a cloud-native world, data cannot be lost. If one application fails, if one Kubernetes cluster fails, if one data center fails, it is your role to make sure that you can recover as fast as possible your application somewhere else. I guess the goal, or the Graal, I guess I can say, of cloud native applications is to be so disconnected from hardware that they can survive from any failure at any level. Well, I guess the drive failure is a pretty standard and common failure, but having a data center failure a lot of applications are stored in some Git repositories. It's just a bunch of YAML files, right? So you can just redeploy your YAML files anywhere. The data, it's very sticky. It's very linked to the hardware or the hard drive on which it sits. So you have to make sure that this data, and I insist, I know, but this data has to be protected. Now, is Kubernetes magic? Kubernetes is great, it does many things, but is Kubernetes magic when it comes to protecting data? Well, actually, it's not. So when I say backup, restore, disaster recovery, business continuity plan, mirror, RTO, RPO, do these terms sound familiar? It is nothing new. This is something people have been talking about and used or implemented for decades. And it's not because you are running Kubernetes that you can forget all about all of these topics. You still have to make sure that your applications or your business can sustain a failure, and you have to implement all of that. So again, the question, does Kubernetes natively offer methods, objects to implement backup, restore, disaster recovery, business continuity, mirror, or whatever? The answer is no. So here, just side note, I'm talking about vanilla Kubernetes. I know that there are some other flavors of Kubernetes that have implemented their own methods to maybe protect some parts of applications, but vanilla Kubernetes does not offer anything about that. So now that I have insisted quite intensively about all this topic, what I would like you to take from this presentation is, when you run stateful application in production, don't forget to protect them. Choose the right tools to protect these stateful applications. And because there are many tools out there that can help you protect stuff. Sometimes it's only about storage. Sometimes it's only about data. Sometimes the protection is crash consistent. So basically, the protection doesn't care about the application, it's just the data itself. Sometimes the tool is going to interact with the application and create some kind of quiesce method or freeze or hot backup method with the application. So that's when you want to put a snapshot or backup your application, you can be sure that the backup itself can be reusable, right? And that is very true for databases, because you know that databases usually have some kind of cache or some kind of cache. So if you take a Kubernetes snapshot at any point in time without interacting with the application, you are going to miss some data. Also, when you are going to plan your protection, don't think only about Kubernetes. Just step back, look at the whole thing, and think about all the pieces that are outside of Kubernetes. Because it's good to protect an application that runs in Kubernetes, but maybe this application requires to be connected to an AD, to some LDAP server. So if your data center fails or your zone fails and your application runs in the second data center, but the AD is down, well, what can you do? Nothing. You still have to rebuild a new AD and wait for that to be ready. I've talked about hardware failure, but problems are not only linked to hardware failure. Data can be lost, yes, because of failure, but it can also be corrupted. It can also be encrypted. So humans are not perfect. You can still have someone who by doing some command erases files and cannot retrieve them. Sometimes systems are hacked and everything is encrypted, and well, don't pay for the key, but bottom line, there is much more than just hardware failure, right? Another very important point is maybe more financial. How much time can your company sustain without these critical cloud native applications? If you have done your backups correctly, restoring may take some time, and you don't want to have your boss and your boss's boss and your boss's boss's boss on your neck every 2 seconds to ask, why can I start my business again? So make sure that you create the right processes for the right environments. You document everything so that if something happens, everything can be automated, and maybe just one click, you can restart everything somewhere else. Next point is quite interesting too. A lot of customers or people implement disaster recovery. Sorry for the PA, I think that's a French term for disaster recovery. So a lot of people implement disaster recovery protocols and backup data or applications, but a lot fewer people actually test if they can restore data. A lot also do not test if the disaster recovery environment works. So you don't want to find out that it doesn't work today, it has to work, right? So make sure to test your processes every once in a while. And last, and this can be also pretty instructive. I like the theory of chaos monkey, that to let a process destroy stuff in your environment and to see what happens. In the best possible world, your application will sustain whatever is broken because it will recreate objects that and to replace what is broken. But randomly breaking something on purpose can teach you some very important things. And with that, well, if you are like me and you consider that Kubernetes is like a Lego, or when you are a kid, when something new comes out with Kubernetes, for me, it's like having a new toy under the Christmas tree. I like to test everything and play and break again and replay. So now it's your time to play. And that will be the end of my presentation.
The end of your slides, but not necessarily the end of your presentation. I think it was very, very well rounded, and seeing all the different sources that you shared with those surveys. We're gonna, we got the links in the slides, but we'll take a look at those as well later. Seeing various organizations, different entities, the CNCF, we've got Datadog, we've got NetApp, we've got other folks featured there. Of course, the Data on Kubernetes Community Report. But seeing how many people are doing this, like you said, the numbers speak for themselves. The complexities that were being dealt with, yes, there are other sources of complexity that have arisen, but we're in 2022. We're not having the same, difficulties that you were seeing in 2017. So I think that's like lots of takeaways from that. If we take this to another direction, something I wanted to ask you that we want to know from all the folks out there are, what are the questions? Some questions have been answered, but what are your questions? What are the things that you feel are still not, fully resolved? We talked about some of these things in the research report, the second one, that one of the biggest challenges that we still see is one is around talent. And another is another one, which could be related to that, is the difficulty of integrating with existing tools. Is that something, could you respond to both those points?
Yes. So the first one about people, and well, I would say that talent are missing on the market. Yes. When you I will compare that to beer, if you don't mind.
Be my guest.
There you go. If you like, if like me, you like to test brewing at home, you will learn that brewing a simple blonde ale or a simple pilsner is pretty easy. You just follow the recipe, and the result will be just pretty good, probably. If you want to start brewing your own double dried sorry.
Okay. How do you say disaster recovery in French again? No, I'm just kidding. No, something more complex, like an imperial stout or a triple IPA with a triple diet.
A double dry hopped New England style double IPA that requires a lot more knowledge, expertise, and that's the same thing with Kubernetes. It's not easy. It's not because you have played Kubernetes for 2 days that you are the expert. It takes weeks. And restart and break it again and restart again and so on and do that as many times as you need. But bottom line, I see many customers or partners that are looking for people to help them start a new infrastructure for Kubernetes, new projects, new DevOps teams, and so on. And yeah, there are not enough knowledge out there. There is, you have blogs, but not enough knowledge or expertise on the market. So yeah, there is a critical lack of people for that.
Yeah. I think we can all agree on that. And one of the things as well too is the difficulty of standardizing practices, because we have this database over here, we have another one over there, you know, the different things there that are being tackled, you know, on the go. Then with the other part of it, the difficulty of integrating with existing tools, is that something that you've experienced, you know, firsthand? Is it something that you see as a widespread issue? Well,
the thing is, Kubernetes is great, the ecosystem is great, but it's wide. When you look at the Kubernetes ecosystem, if you're new, you either fall down from your chair when you see that, or you take your sleeves, you roll up your sleeves, and you say, okay, I will start building my stuff and test every single product and make my own advice on my own idea on all of them. But yeah, there are many tools already, so they are all integrated with Kubernetes. So that's not really answering the question, but there are also new types of applications that come with Kubernetes for data or not. And we are still, I guess, missing some tools to manage Kubernetes and applications and data and backup and everything in one place.
Yeah.
I guess.
And this is something that comes up. Yeah, one, you know, what gets talked about with operators, will there be one operator to rule them all? Is there something that can sort of encompass all these things? Because like you said, it's like the universe, it's, you know, infinitely expansive. And so there's a lot of stuff to keep track of there. Are there other questions though that you have that you think that we could respond to as a community there, that you think that are on the horizon for you, that stuff where you're like, you know what, if this could be resolved, or if this could be easier, or I'm still not sure about this, what are things that come to mind?
I think, like I said, new types of applications are coming in the picture. Kubernetes has become the new standard. So we as data specialists, we know how to deal with the lowest levels of all of that. But when you look at AI,
good job. It's okay, in Spanish it's the opposite, so inteligencia artificial, I imagine in French.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an application that runs on top of that, and people who are working with AI don't necessarily know how to deal with Kubernetes. And so they're using Kubernetes, they're putting data in there, but there is no mismatch because it works together, but it's just not optimized. So we are missing some, I guess, giant blueprints to say, okay, AI, that the goal of AI is X and Kubernetes is Y. How do I make X and Y work together? And because I've seen too often AI projects where they just deploy an application as a whole big container and a real gigantic volume underneath. And it works, yes, but it's not made to work like that, Kubernetes, right? So, but this world is moving so quickly also that you have to jump on the train and think about optimizing or make things better when you can, I guess.
No, I think it's a great point. And we saw in the second research report a continuation of what we saw in the first one, but the different kinds of workloads, which you pointed out as well too. We are seeing more analytics, ML, AI, these things are making their way on there. But like you said, it's a fast moving train, and trying to get these things stabilized and manageable in a way that isn't too complex is one of the challenges that we're seeing. But I think your question is a very, very good one to the community for things that we can keep in mind. Yves, I guess we're getting towards the end of our conversation. Do you have any beer links or things like that you'd like to share, or things that we need to check out, or any mustache competitions you've been winning recently? Anything else that we haven't covered?
If you come to the Kubernetes Communities Day in Paris in March, I will be there, so we can probably share something. I'm always open to discuss beer tastings, so connect with me on Slack or GitHub or wherever, or LinkedIn even. And for the mustache, well, I have not won any competition, but I guess the people remember me just because of that. So
it's a good reason, easy to remember and hard to forget, but not just because of the mustache, because of being a wonderful person, a great community member in all the senses, whether it's in KCD in Paris, KubeCon, etc. Join us here today. Very much appreciate hearing from you, and I think this sets a good precedent for the talks we're going to be having in the future of really doubling down, not just on our research report, but looking at, if we're talking about data on Kubernetes, let's look at the data. Let's see what people are saying about this. And let's see, how practitioners are approaching it and the challenges that they're facing. So Yves, thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure.
All right. Au revoir.
Salut.
Salut. Okay.